This is Bill Brady, and I'm doing another video for the Kingship course. This video is about Melchizedek. More specifically, don't trigger when I talk about Melchizedek. Take a look in Hebrews chapter 5, and we'll show this is a biblical principle. Hebrews 5, 8 through 14, New American Standard Bible. Talking about Yeshua. Although he was a son, he learned obedience from the things which he suffered. And having been made perfect, he became to all those who obey him the source of eternal salvation, everlasting salvation, being designated by God as a high priest according to the order of Melchizedek. Verse 11, concerning Melchizedek, we have much to say, and it is hard to explain since you have become dull of hearing. For though by this time you ought to be teachers, you have need again for someone to teach you the elementary principles of the oracles of God, and you've come to need milk and not solid food. For everyone who partakes only of milk is not accustomed to the word of righteousness, for he is an infant. But solid food is for the mature, who because of practice have their senses trained to discern good and evil. Two things here. I believe Paul is the writer of Hebrews. You don't have to agree with me. That's not a problem. It's scripture either way. But the writer here, who I believe is Paul, says, he starts talking about Melchizedek, and then he immediately says, concerning Melchizedek, concerning him, we have much to say. So there is a lot to talk about Melchizedek. He says, we have much to say, and it is hard to explain. It's hard to teach about him since you have become dull of hearing. So these are folks that, for the most part, when Paul starts talking to them about Melchizedek, this is going to be something new, strange to them, something hard for them to hear since you have become dull of hearing. They're hard of hearing. So hearing about Melchizedek is something that's hard for lots of believers to hear about because they're just not ready for it. And then the other thing I wanted to say is, for everyone who partakes only of milk is not accustomed to the word of righteousness. And the word of righteousness, a very interesting phrase. The word of righteousness. Melchizedek means king of righteousness. So Paul here is talking about how it's difficult to explain to people about Melchizedek because they're dull of hearing, they're hard of hearing. And he's teaching about Melchizedek is the word of righteousness because he is the king of righteousness. So I just wanted to caution you to not trigger when I speak about Melchizedek. Some folks are going to trigger. Who? They're not going to have any understanding of Melchizedek at all. What's that got to do with me? Well, Paul makes it very clear that this is something that we are to teach about, and there is a word of righteousness, a word of Melchizedek, or I'm using the phrase gospel of Melchizedek, that is to be proclaimed and explained, but not everybody's ready for it. And really, it's the overcomers that are going to be able to hear the word about Melchizedek, and others are going to have some difficulty with it. If me talking about Melchizedek is weird or strange to you, I would encourage you to park that for now. Don't run away. If you have a desire for kingship, don't let my talking to you about Melchizedek chase you away from your interest in kingship. Continue to pursue your interest in kingship, and park this thing about Melchizedek till a later time when you're ready for it. Okay, so this recording has the title, Don't Trigger When I Talk About Melchizedek.